Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello dear learners, welcome to this online course on writing skills. I am Dr. Divya Gupta, an assistant professor at GLA University, Mathura. Today we are going to start with article writing. My dear learners, you have already done essay writing, you have done report writing, you have done letter writing and many other long compositions. Now it's the turn of another long composition, another piece of work, piece of art you can say, where you will definitely hone your skills of writing. Now in this case, I would like to tell you my dear learners, when I talk about article writing, it is very much prevalent nowadays. No matter you are writing for a newspaper or for any magazine. Articles are every now and then published in the papers. There is a separate column where people exhibit their ideas, their views, their feelings, their emotions, their personal self, their personal views in that condition where nobody is there to restrict it. Obviously, there are some parameters, there are some national guidelines where you cannot cross that line, but people are free to express their opinions. But in article, nowadays people have started moving from article writing towards blog writing as well. In this technical era, people are inclined towards blog writing. Somebody is going on with food blogging, travel blogging, and in that case they are coming up with their live feelings, live, you can say, whatever they observe, their observations, their analysis, and on the basis of that they write down all the things that they have done. So this blog writing has gradually taken over article writing nowadays. And believe me my dear learners, if you want to be a successful writer, a creative writer, keep on writing blogs, keep on writing those articles and get them published. Why am I saying this thing? Because when this OTT has turned up, now being like people from different areas, the directors, if they like any idea, they immediately catch hold of that person who is a perfect creative writer. And in this condition, what happens, like being a student of BTech, you all can write on variety of themes. And what are these varieties of themes? You can write on the technical equipments, new apps. You can talk about mobile phones, which are the apps you should not upload on your phone. Then you can talk about the difference in appliances, technologies. Then talking about doctors, philosophers, historians, they all have their different perceptions, their own views. So you all should initiate writing by writing or composing your ideas in a long way, long manner. Now in this condition, I would like to tell you that my dear learners, you people will be able to learn how to go on with article writing, and let's move up to the learning outcomes. All my dear learners who are there, just concentrate on that, and throughout this lecture you would be able to learn several nuances of it, rules and regulations that you have to follow, but there are sprawling ideas and you cannot restrict those ideas. You have to just, logical framing is required for them, that's it. Logical arguments are required for them. So let's begin with that. And what are the learning outcomes of this particular lecture? The learning outcomes of this particular lecture is that you will learn the format of writing articles, which is very important. Along with that, once you understand the format, you would be able to draft it in a perfect manner. And with that manner, I would like to say that you would be able to learn the special role of 7 C's of communication. Then after going on with that part, you would be able to learn and grab the importance of precision and coherence over here. In a few words, just in few words, you have to explain your idea. Precision, the importance of precision and coherence. Now, I would like to ask you, my dear students, do you have that much time to go on through long composition reading? No. It has to be comprised form and to the point where it will appeal the audience, appeal the readers. Then you would be able to learn the scope of article writing and blog writing. Now, with this article writing and blog writing, you all will hone your skills, acquaint or update your knowledge, and with this note, I would like to tell you that there are different rules for reading. There are different rules for reading, my dear learners, for thinking or for talking. Reading, thinking and talking, there are different rules, but writing blends all of them. So, writing blends all of them. That is a perfect example or perfect quotation that is given by Mason Cooley, who is an American aphorist. So, aphorism is again a figure of speech which has a deeper meaning into it, denotative and connotative meaning. So, with this we will move forward towards the, after learning, after just knowing about the learning outcomes, you all will be able to understand the content. What are the contents that we are going to cover up in our lecture? Now, in this case, you have to understand that the contents are basically one by one we will conquer this topic. We will be able to accomplish the hints, we will be able to accomplish and acquire the sufficient knowledge which is required to draft an effective article. So, which are they? You would learn the format and principles of article writing, my dear students, my dear learners. What is the format? Then you would learn the role of precision. Yes, that is very, very important, by using one word substitution, by avoiding cliches, sometimes by avoiding extravagant words. And on the other part, you would be able to strike coherence and unity in the unity of thought. When you speak something, when you write something, you must have the unity of thought. One idea should relate the other idea. Remember, my dear learners. So, this should not be the first paragraph is dealing with A and the second paragraph is dealing with B. No, it will be interrelated. And there are few words, they are called signpost. There are few words, they are called signpost, which are, in other words, you can say linking words which connect one paragraph with another. Firstly, secondly, therefore, however, there are such type of words which are helpful to strike the connection between two paragraphs. You will learn those things, and then further you would learn 7 C's that we have already discussed, and difference between article and blog writing. Many people think that article and blog writing are almost similar, but my dear learners, there is a slight difference between them. They both allow liberty. They both allows a kind of liberal expression of your views, but a slight difference is there of length, the word limit. Article is comparatively, you can say, 1000 words, more than 300 to 1000 words you can say, and it could be more than that as well. Whereas in blog writing, it will be less than 300 words, it would not be more than that. Then apart from length, the aim of that is also different, where in article you would be able to come up with some datas and figures in order to authenticate your idea. That okay, if you are quoting something, that you must come up with the relevant examples and relevant data to support your answer, to validate your answer, to make it authentic. Whereas when we talk about articles, when we talk about blogs, obviously no data is required, it is your free will. If you really want to update with or ornament your blog with the data, then it is fine. Otherwise, it only comes up with physical or personal observation, you can say. Understood, my dear learners? So, you have to be very cautious, very understand, like I mean to say very like you have to pay attention towards all these aspects. Now, after learning the content, we will move towards the next part, that is introduction to article writing. What is an article writing? Article writing is actually informing something to the readers. Informing something to the readers, that means it is a piece of art which represents personal opinions and informs about variety of themes. Variety of themes could be social, political, economical, personal, any topic, any themes that you would like to discuss. Because many people are from scientific background, they talk about their labs, they talk about their changes, the upliftment of their, or you can say the modifications in the research work that they have done, they would be able to turn up about that. Sometimes if the person is from law background, he would be able to talk about the amendments in law, and then he would be able to tell you something about your legal rights and talk about those rights in the article. So, it depends on the area of interest where the person is writing, the writer's interest actually. So, being a person, being a scientist, you would not be able, you would not ask that person to draft any article on any law, right. So, this is very interesting and very important to identify your interest. You must identify your interest. Identify your interest. Then only you would be able to become a successful writer. So, what is your interest? You must identify that part. Now, after that, you must remember that, for example, I have given some examples of the themes and certain relevant topics for article writing. For example, women empowerment. For example, sometimes people write on 75 years of independence. This is the current issue right now. Some people are relishing that part, some people are criticizing, some people are coming up with the shortcomings, and there are few people who are feeling that kind of like pride, the feeling of pride and sense of nationality while discussing the achievement. So, they talk about 75 years of independence. This is a common topic that many people try to come up with. Then impact of pandemic. Nowadays, corona is flourishing like anything, and relevance of games. Relevance of games is another topic that people generally try to come up with. So, all these things, they are current, or you can say many other article topics are there. So, please be ready. Keep your eyes and ears open, my dear learners, so that you can write, you can come with beautiful quotations, with wonderful data, relevant data and figures, and with some relevant topics also, current topic as well to discuss. Because it is not only writing, it is all about reading as well. If you are writing something, the other person is reading it, do not forget about it. So, it has to be in a very interesting manner. Now, in this case, just remember, it is meant to be published in newspapers and magazines. So, this is very important. Since it is going to be published, you need to go on with all the 5 processes that I told you. You have to, let me just write down, you have to first of all go on with pre-writing. Now, what is that pre-writing? You should know brainstorming. Brainstorming is very important, my dear learners. You must try to locate the idea. Brainstorming, it is very important. After pre-writing, you will move towards the next category, that is drafting. Once you have acquired the or gathered the information from reliable sources, from what you hear, what you see, everything. Then from drafting it moves towards, like you create a draft. and that draft will be a rumble one. It will not be, it would be the first draft, but it would not be the perfect one, because it will require many modifications, many updations, many times it will be edited. So, it will be drafting. After drafting, it will move up towards publication, So, generally if I talk about these three stages, they are pre-writing, then since I told you, then while writing, and afterwards it will be post writing. So, is that very clear? Actually, we have dealt with lecture number, you can say lecture number 3, types of technical writing. In that, I have already discussed this pre-writing, while writing and post writing. So, please go through it if you really want to be a perfect writer. So, without planning, obviously you would not be able to do anything. It needs some time to hone your skills. So, further with this note, we move forward towards the next aspect, that is format of article writing. Article writing is not everybody's cup of tea, you know. You have to understand that it is very interesting if you really give your heart and soul to it, and very simple if you really involve yourself in that. So, on the first line, like in the first line, on the top there would be heading. And heading will be in capital letters. My dear learners. And in that case, suppose if it is problem, so I have written the first letters of this heading in capitals. Understood everyone? So, you must remember this point, the first letter of the headings, first letter of each word, you can say, will be in capital letters, right? So, remember. Second, byline. Byline is the name of the person who is writing it. Name of the writer, you can say. Is that clear everyone? Name of the writer. Now, we come up towards the full screen, where from left hand side you are going to begin writing, and thereafter you can write the content. So, what would be the ingredients of your content? When you cook something, you need to have several ingredients. In the same way, when you are going to prepare this article, there are some ingredients. So, what are they? Just pay attention. They are introduction. The first one is introduction. Second one is you have to introduce it. You have to introduce the topic, the theme, and then further it would be supporting. It would have the supporting details, that means some data, it must have some figures, if you can support it with some chart, because if it is going to be published in newspaper, you would be having all those things in support of your justification. And obviously logical arrangements of ideas. This is very important, because you people know your ideas are so many, but you do not know how to portray them. So, what you can do is you can talk about the meaning first of all, you can talk about the situation, then you can talk about the problem if it is there, then after problem you can talk about the effect, then after coming up with the effect aspect, you can easily turn up towards the solution. So, all these things with solution you can come up with conclusion. So, all these things are logical presentation of anything, any idea, right. So, this is very important, and further conclusion, this is again a concluding, or you can say summing up of the ideas, which is very, very important and relevant. So, further with this note, we move forward towards the principles of article writing. What are the essential principles, or you can say the elements of article writing? Because obviously, without knowing the essential principles, or without knowing anything about these rules and regulations, you would not be able to draft a perfect or an impressive article. So, what would be the first thing that we have already almost discussed, but you have to just keep in mind that how these things are going to work out well. So, let us see. First is heading. First is heading. Now, in this condition, you have to understand heading. I told you that first letter of each word will be in capital letters, right? And along with that, this I have already mentioned, each word, every word in capital letters. Then you would be able to come up with the catchy, eye-catching headings. Eye-catching headings, that means it must remain in the reader's mind if you are writing any article. Clear? So, you must remember, suppose if I say, if I come up, heart, love and bloodshed. Now, this kind of heading will certainly entice the readers to go on reading with it. Clear? Have I made myself very clear, my dear learners? Why and how are you going to come up with eye-catching, with center of attraction, or with all those type of headings which are moreover attractive and enticing? So, heart, love and bloodshed. Now, if this is a title, obviously you would be like compelled to read out the article about which he has written, about the writer has written. Now, in this condition, it should indicate the theme. It should indicate any theme. So, remember, it has to be in a very beautiful, like I mean to say, in a very convincing manner. It should not be compelled, but formed in such a manner as if the readers will be persuaded to read out your article. Then byline. Byline is actually mandatory. Who has written this article? It is really important in that condition. So, name of the person you have to write down, and it would be either center aligned. If you might have seen in that newspapers as well, it will come in the like at the end sometimes. Suppose this is the screen, this is your page, here you have written heading, then many times it is written in the center. Other times it is written at the left hand side over here at the end. Many times it is written on left or right side. So, but the name is essential, it is very important. Further, we talk about introductory paragraph, which is again very important. You know how to, you have so many ideas, but how to introduce your topic, which is very important. Now, in this condition, you must know that your introductory paragraph will be like giving the topic sentence, which clearly indicates your theme. Understood, my dear learners? So, well, you all should know that it has to be clear and precise. Language should be used, and while doing that, you must raise direct questions to resolve them. For example, if I talk about any article, you must talk about, suppose if I talk about childhood memories. Now, if I am talking about this article, what will I say? I will start with that. Beautiful memories are cherishing and feeling nostalgic nowadays. I feel that I always recall my beautiful days of childhood. That was the golden period. Do you remember all those days? So, what will happen? I also raise the question. what would you like to do in your vacant hours? So, in that condition, raising a question, that means you are involving the person, the readers with you. So, that is raising a direct question. I will come up with so many examples later on in our next slides, later slides, so that you would be able to learn and understand how to use these tactics to make your article more impressive. Yeah, so let us talk about them. Use opinion adverbs. Opinion adverbs, what are they? Now, let me talk about those. Opinion adverbs means like you are going to involve those words which tells you something more about your own personal feeling. For example, unfortunately, for example, obviously, personally I feel that these things should be curbed down. Personally, hopefully these things are going to be better in next 2 years. So, what will happen? These opinion adverbs, these are very important. These opinion adverbs are very important when you talk about article writing, because this will entice or revive anybody's interest. And then further, if I talk about begin each paragraph with some connectives to maintain coherence. Is that clear, my dear learners? So, bring each paragraph, begin each paragraph with connectives. Connectives, which are they? As if I told you in the beginning, which are they? They are firstly, they are secondly, on the other hand, they are all known as connectives. And these linking words will be certainly used to connect two paragraphs, to bring about coherence, to bring about unity of thought. Remember, my dear learners, you would not find that your reader is lost. He is not at all, he will not at all be lost in any reveries when something is happening like that. So, it must cater attention. Next point, it must cater attention means you must have the capacity to revive the attention of the readers by catchy slogans, by sometimes opinion adverbs, by sometimes raising direct questions. So, this is very important. Now, further, it must arise interest, along with attention it must arise interest also. So, this is very important. It is your target, it is your aim to make your learners involved in that. So, it will arise interest. And then further, if after arising the interest, it must have the planned ideas, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like this I told you, you must have a clear planned way of presenting your ideas. So, in our previous slide I told you how to come up with that particular thing. You must introduce, you must give the definition, you must give the meaning, and then afterwards you must come up with the you can say the problem, what is the problem in the society. Then you can tell about, many times you can tell about the effect. After effect you can tell about the solutions, suggestions from your side, which is very important. Now we further move up towards the next side, that is you have already done. I hope you people have understood the principles of article writing. So, in a continuation manner, what else is left out? Developing the content. How will you develop the thought? The thought. Now, you must know that how this thought will be developed well. In this case, you must remember that how this thing is employed. Employ facts. And in this condition, you must know that facts and figures are very important. Facts and figures are very important. They should actually add validity, authenticity to your work. Data. If you are writing some data, it must be with reference. Some reference means like if you are quoting some line, you must just write down that Pablo Neruda wrote this thing, like that, or rightly suggested, or rightly you can say supported this idea. So, examples are also very important. When you come with allusive style in that condition. We have already discussed this in our previous lecture. What is allusive style? Giving classical references, mythological references, religious references, stories from the past. Then you can use anecdotes as well, stories, Russian story, French story, any story that is or some live examples, some live incidents. You can say incidents, current incident that you can quote in your article, current news that I have already explained you. Logical arguments are very important. If you come up with your article writing, it must have the logical arguments. This is very important. And in this logical argument, you must know that it must follow some kind of meticulous way of sequencing the ideas. Logical arguments. If you are coming up with advantage, with like suppose you are taking up cause and effect strategy or technique. Now in this condition you must know that first of all you will turn up with the reason why it happened. Then you can talk about the that what is the problem or why it happened, and then effect, and then you can talk about the solution, again the same thing, right. And if you are coming up with any other point, like suppose if I say that is compare and contrast method, that is something different, we will come up with this also. So, this is what logical arguments, or maybe suppose you have come up with your own idea, my point of view. Before giving your point of view, what you can do is you can give the others' point of view also along with that. Others' point of view. Why? How will you do that, others' point of view in that condition? Now you will write down this others' point of view or opponent's point of view, you can write down here. Opponent's point of view. Now you would be able to contrast both of them. So, it is very important. And then further, if you want to know about the other thing, link your sentences with these words. However, also another disadvantage is that in addition, these points will help you out to express your ideas and connect all the ideas together, make a bunch of it. Okay? So, remember this thing is very important. And that we have already done with this example, compare and contrast technique. Compare and contrast technique, you can come up with two opposite sides and then coming up with the superiority of your version, of your opinion. Okay. So, this is something, give point of view and give real life examples to validate your perception. A friend of mine or one of my relatives, whenever you are talking about real life example, like suppose nowadays due to extreme hot and summers, so many fire accidents or burning incidents are taking place, and where the whole house are burnt. One of my relatives faced the same kind of problem when they were sleeping and automatically like the fire break down in their house, and they were unaware about the ill effects and they were unaware about the situation. So, gradually you are coming up with your own live example. So, this will definitely add one more charm to your article. Remember, so these words, for example, one of my relatives, friend of mine, this actually tries to correlate or strike a balance where readers even will be able to strike a connection with you people, with the writer. So, finally, how are you going to conclude this thing? How are you going to conclude with this? Conclude is actually summing up everything, some suggestions, you are going to give some suggestions, you are going to give some kind of like remedies, some kind of solutions from your side. If not, then you can just wind it up accordingly and just summarizing all the points that you have told, and remedies and to resolve the issues, that is for sure. So, these are the things that you can, how you can conclude, either summarize all the points that you have given in the article. Secondly, what you can do is you can very easily give the solutions or suggestions to rectify the problem. After that, you can end up with any kind of quotation also. So, now this is very important, and how to conclude it, because your starting and your conclusion matters a lot. So, let us start with don't be too elaborative and descriptive. Since it is a long composition, the word limit is around from 300 words to 2000 words and more than that. Sometimes more than that. I'm highlighting this point, sometimes more than that. So, but still you don't have the right to be very elaborative, coming up with those words, or you can say the exaggeration of any idea. So, let us go on to the next slide where you are going to talk about the purpose. What is the purpose of writing an article? My dear learners, you must know that there has to be a purpose behind any writing, because you have to vent out your feelings, you have to vent off, you have to vent out. So, you should remember that you have to vent out your feelings, your emotions, your anguish, your anxiety, if you have any of those things hidden in your heart and soul. And that is the reason writer focuses on, there are three logics, three reasons and three purpose, you can say, narrating any event or visit of to any place. So, this is the purpose. Many times people narrate. Suppose you visited the Taj Mahal, or you visited any historical monument, or any fair, Taj Mahotsav, or maybe book fair at Pragati Maidan. So, what will happen? You would certainly narrate the event and visit to a place in the form of article. And further, it will be describing an event. You can describe it also, and describe any accident, person or place. If somebody is your ideal hero or ideal politician, if you aspire, if you are inspired by somebody or motivated by somebody, you would certainly talk about describing that person, describing about that person. Then you should know, my dear learners, that expressing views is another purpose of expressing your own views and sometimes your arguments to support your answer, right. So, if I talk about any controversial issues nowadays, what would that be? That would be, suppose if I talk about Nupur Sharma's statement. So, that is a controversial part, but you have the right to talk about the arguments. You have the right to talk about all those points, all those you can say the logical arguments that you want to give in favor or in against. Because India is a democratic country, anyone and everyone can write anything, my dear learners, but there are few limits to it. So, on the basis of it, writer focuses on description, narration and finally expressing views. After that, it would be definitely limited to magazine articles sometimes and newspaper articles. Magazine articles will have a limited audience, will have a small number of people who will be reading that article, since it will be published in magazine. But on the other hand, when you talk about newspaper, it will be worldwide. And nowadays it is available on social media, it is available on Google platform. You can very easily go through the entire newspaper, get the screenshot, you can download that very easily, you can do that. So, this is for wider audience, my dear learners. Now, moving up to the next part, that is, after going on with the purpose, you have to understand the role of precision. Now, how this precision plays an integral role. Short, abbreviation, acronyms, one word substitutions, there are many factors that you can use. And along with that, please remember how to concise your expressions, how to compact, how to make them very appealing, yet appealing, but not on the verge of the meaning. appealing but not on the words or on the expense of meaning. Meaning should be clear, should remain clear. So, conciseness at the expense of clarity is required. It is at the expense of clarity. I told you that clarity should not fade away. If you want to be concise writer, it should not hamper your clarity. Further, instead of all the Indians, for example, that is a very interesting example. Instead of saying all the Indians present here, one can write 138 crore Indians. So, you can very easily talk about this figure, right? Because you have to validate and you have all the like validation also. Nobody can deny with that fact. So, remember to mention some kind of like short comprised form of those words. So, further we will move towards the selection of unambiguous language. So, my dear learners, you are going to select the unambiguity, because nobody is going to allow you people to come up with ambiguous, with something which is very ambiguous, which is very boring. So, you have to stick to that unambiguity. You have to stick to that unambiguous language, which is not boring. And then further, you must avoid colloquial expressions. You should try to come up with refined language, because since it would be published, you must come up with a very refined version of your vocabulary. Then further, you must know that publishing high value and structured subject matter, since it will be read by people all around the world, you have to be very specific about it. And after publishing it at a very high value and structured subject matter, you must remember to quote some examples which are validated, proved. Support your views with verifiable concrete data and figures, that I have already explained you, that it is not necessary. If you have written something, that is something very good, until it has any kind of proof, which is very important. Then further, remember, simple sentences structure should be there with active voice, so that you must have a kind of clarity of expression. So, active voice clearly indicates that how the doer is not hidden in that condition. The person who is doing that task is not hidden. So, therefore, I'm just portraying or just highlighting this fact that you have to use active voice along with simple sentence structure. Then one word substitution, that is for sure. Please hone your skills, keep on learning new words every day, my dear learners. Learn new words, new vocabularies, download Thesaurus dictionary that provides any like it's just one, but you can download many like this. And along with that Thesaurus dictionary, then you can talk about any other free app which will tell you about new words. Every now and then you get examples that this is the new word or this is the word of the day. Mesmerize that word, try to use that word in your written communication, in your written skills. And as soon as you try to use them, you would certainly be able to use them regularly without any artificiality. So, in that condition, use one word substitutions, abbreviations, acronyms. In our previous lecture also I told you what is the difference between acronyms and abbreviations, my dear. Come on, tell me. If I say ISRO, right? If I say DR, if I say WHO, so what is that? World Health Organization. Then ISRO is again acronym. These two are acronym. They are acronym. And this one is abbreviation, remember. Clear? So, what is the difference between them? Acronym is the initial letters of those words, the compiled one. NASA, it's again acronym. Acronym, right everyone? So, remember, you can use abbreviations and acronyms like that. For president, you talk like this. So, in that condition, you must remember that all these things are applicable in order to write a perfect and impressive articles. Now, further, avoid explicitives, cliches and redundant words. Many words are cliches, they are not of use nowadays, they were so old. As red as rose. Then if I talk about any proverb, you can say uphill task, bed of roses. Now these terminologies, they have already become so outdated that they are called cliches. So you are not supposed to use these words, avoid using them. Rather, I would like to tell you one more example. Today only it came. If I say, please pay attention all my dear learners, moonlighting of the employees. So, Wipro director criticized moonlighting of the employees. Now, are you able to understand this word? What is moonlighting of the employees? This is a new thing, this is a new terminology actually. Moonlighting is actually working in your, like suppose 9 to 5 is the working hour, right? Everybody works in that particular hours, but they are working in night shift as well at different place. So that is called moonlighting of the employees. So he is against that moonlighting of the employees, and that is the reason I should definitely come up with the direct meaning of this thing, that moonlighting of the employees is actually working of the same employee during his working hours in his company and then going out in other company or maybe somewhere else apart from his working hours, that is maybe sometimes in night shift. So this is called moonlighting of the employees, which is not a cliche, it is a new term. You must remember that every now and then when you grab the ideas, when you learn from the recent newspaper articles, from reports, you learn them, mesmerize them, use them in your colloquial language, so that it won't be very difficult for you to draft any kind of article. So with this note, we should come up with explicitives are those words which are a kind of, you can say, slang or something which are like bad words or abusive words. So do not try to use them while expressing your opinion. Now with this note, we shall move forward towards the next part, coherence and unity of thought. We have to maintain the paragraph unity, which I have already discussed earlier, how to maintain that paragraph unity by using signpost, by using linking words, and by using you can say adverbs as well, opinion adverbs, they are very important. So these are the things, linking words for signposting, as I told you. For example, I give the example however, then moreover, then many other linking words are there. Then unity of ideas with coherence, and then cohesion, unity of structural element. Then we have logical gap fillers, that means repetition of the words that will entice the audience to read out. So that is very important, repetition of the idea. And then verbal gap fillers, that means you must use synonyms of some words so that the same idea will run through the whole article. And then clear back referencing. See, clear back referencing means as if I told you that I have told you in a previous slide. Have I told you? For example, if I say 7 C's, if I talk about 7 C's, what will I do? 7 C's of communication. I will certainly tell you that we have already discussed in our previous slide. So, what will happen in that condition, my dear learners? You would be able to connect yourself, and clear back referencing is very important to connect the learners and readers from one lecture, from one article to another one, right. So, with this we move forward towards the next part, 7 C's of writing, that is very common and applicable to all, applicable to all. We are not going to delve deep into it since we have already done it earlier, but obviously it has to be there in your articles as well. You have to maintain that kind of learning. So, which is that you have the correctness of thought, grammatical and technical correctness is required. You cannot ignore that part, that is for sure. Then it must have the clarity of thought and carries only one interpretation. You should not come up with denotative and connotative meaning, or maybe like sometimes vague answers or vague supporting documents, which is not liable. And then completeness, it should not be without relevant information, that is for sure. It must be not beating around the bush. Then internal and external consistency should be there, conciseness, consideration and courtesy, that is we have already discussed earlier. So, now I would not like come up with the explanations, but you have to just implement those things in your article writing, my dear learners. Okay. So, what is the difference between article and blog writing? You must remember that it must have when we talk about blog writing, it has search engine optimization. You try to come up with keywords, and with the help of those keywords, what happens? People try to find out. Suppose if I talk about mechanization, if I talk about entrepreneurship, if I talk about population, if I talk about global warming, if I've kept those keywords, what will happen? Finally, you would be able to learn them very well. And then difference in personal opinions, portrayal. After that, you must know that it must have the editing part also. Then length and style. So, there is a difference between them, right? Yeah, there is a difference between them. In personal opinions portrayal, article and blog writing, they are quite different in that. Blog writing is free to write anything, whereas article you need to have the validation or validating points along with that. Then further you must have the editing properly done, and with length and style, obviously I told you that blog writing will be word limit will be 300 words, and whereas if I talk about, right, if I talk about then articles, they would be 1000 to like till 1000 words, it will be like that, more than 300 to 1000 words. Is that clear, my dear learners? So, with this we will move forward towards this particular example that I have taken from Times of India, and that was published on 21st of August 2022. For you people, I have just taken this particular article so that you should know how these things are actually written and drafted well. As if I told you the default of tech systems. Now, look at this thing. Technology, tech systems you should turn off right away. With new devices, always go through different menus to power down data shared. So, in this you have very beautifully come up with the highlighting features. You can see some Amazon shopping list, wish list are public by default. You can set this to private on the your list page. This is actually, the article is actually the guideline, how few apps should be prohibited, should be stopped or should be taken care while saying yes to that access. So, you have to just like that article has been written in such a manner where proper headings are given, and along with that he has come up with some ideas where he has tried to come up the comparative contrast methodology of all the things that are there. Now, look at this thing. Here's a streamlined guide to many of the default settings that you should change, and if you want to keep your data private. Is that clear, everyone? Look at this thing. This clearly indicates that this article deals with that particular aspect. Now, with this note, we move forward towards the next article, which is love makes it easier to journey into freedom. Now, in this condition, this is again the name of the writer on left hand side, and again look at this thing, love makes it easier, where L capital, M capital, it easier to journey into freedom. So, this thing clearly indicates that the first letter of each word would be in capital letters, and this particular article has already been taken from Times of India, again 15th August 2022. That I have given the reference and the site and the linking link as well on my reference page along with that. So, what is that dealing all about? It is dealing about independence. It is dealing about some problems or some issues that one may conquer or one may overcome. Some barriers one may overcome at that time. So, I am just look at this sign. The benchmark of inner freedom is increasing ability to be free to love and forgive. So, the final line clearly indicates that it is all about the amalgamation of spirituality, amalgamation of humility, amalgamation of basic good deeds. So, what he needs to say, that free to love and forgive, and thereafter the writer has coming up with, like, look at these things, she has put them in a beautiful single quotes. We are used to thinking of freedom as an event that we experience. Nations celebrate the day of their independence from foreign rule. They are wrongly accused, celebrate a conviction that has been overturned. Teenagers coming of age celebrate the dawn of their new found freedom. While these milestones are important and not journey important too? Two survivors of Holocaust. So, in that condition you talk about, it is raising the question, look at this. While these milestones are important, is not journey important too? Raising question. Raising question. So that people will definitely learn how these things are going to be validated, or how these learners will be, or the readers will be connected with that. So, this is very important strategy, you know. Then further moving up to the next side, coming up to the conclusion, I hope that I have explained the article writing in a perfect manner, where you have understood how to come up with an expressive and impressive way of article writing, and along with that you have understood very well that how it can be, it can follow unity, coherence, then precision. It must have all the like attractive and catchy headings, slogans, and follow these linking words, signpost, then sometimes vocabulary, sometimes you can say adverbs, opinion adverbs. So, on the whole it will create a bouquet where everyone would be pleased to receive it. Okay. So, this is the part where I would say that article writing and blog writing has become the soul of expressions nowadays. Every person is actually initiating into blog writing because of this. And then remember to summarize succinctly, answer all the potential questions, all my dear students. It is not only raising the question, you have to just give the answer at the end. And last but not the least, good writing is supposed to evoke sensation in the reader, and not the fact that it's raining, but the feeling of being rained upon. It's given by E.L. Doctorow. And then further, writing is actually easy. All you have to do is cross the wrong words, cross out the wrong words. So, this is word given by Mark Twain. So, with this note, I am Dr. Divya Gupta signing off for now, my dear learners. These are the references that I have referred to, and this is the link of Times of India, both the articles, and further these are the books that I have referred to. Thank you, my dear learners. Thank you for now.